One of my fondest memories growing up as a young girl in Alabama was spending time with my grandparents, Preston and Lucille Gregory. They lived in a very small southern town called Tallahassee, Alabama. And if you've ever watched an episode of the old Andy Griffith television show, you'll understand exactly what I mean when I say that Tallahassee was Mayberry in real life. My grandfather, who we all call Pop, owned the local grocery store there, and people would stop by even if they didn't need groceries, just to put a dime in that old Coke machine and sit down, visit, and just talk about their day. But from time to time, people would come in and they would buy a few groceries and they'd bring them up to the counter, and instead of Pop asking them for money, he'd ask them to sign a receipt. And then he'd put this receipt in this old cigar box that he kept underneath the counter. And on the top of the cigar box, there was just this handwritten IOU in black magic marker. But then he'd always take the time to chat with the people, and he'd always ask about the children, and typically he knew all the children by name. And then he would bid them a very sincere farewell, and he would always leave them with, "Y'all come back and see me now real soon." Well, years later, Pop died unexpectedly, and a few weeks following that, my mother and I were helping my grandmother go through his things and lock up the store for the final time, when we discovered box after box of these IOUs stashed in the back of a closet. Each of these boxes were stuffed full of receipts, and on each of these receipts there was a signature, and in some cases just an X scribbled at the bottom of the receipt. Many of these were from the same people, and the dates spread across many, many years. And I remember I asked my grandmother about the boxes and why Pop never collected any of this money. And she just smiled and she said, "Honey, that's who your Pop was. He never really expected to get paid from those IOUs, because he knew those people whose names appeared in those boxes couldn't afford to pay. But they also needed groceries to feed their families, and he felt like he and my grandmother had more than enough to share." Now, my granddaddy was not the greatest businessman by most people's standards, and he certainly didn't die a rich man in terms of dollars and cents. But I have always believed that Pop died a man wealthy beyond his means, because he was loved, admired, and appreciated by so many in that small community. And I remember the look of love and pride in my grandmother's eyes that day when she spoke of his heart and his generosity and his sincere desire to foster help for those less fortunate. And something truly struck a chord in me that day, and I'll always remember when she said so perfectly that he simply wanted to leave the world a little better than he found it. Now, I know that's a simple story about a simple but very good man, but I shared that story with you because it is the foundation and the principle and the philosophy on which DuVita was born. Several years later, I met my partner, Nelson Crow, and the first thing I noticed about him was that he truly shared the same spirit that my grandfather had. And you know, Nelson and I are just like you. We've spent our lives providing for our families. We know well what it feels like to get so caught up in the day-to-day financials that you get stuck in the minutiae of it all. You don't have time to do the things that are important, or you don't have time to do the things that add true meaning to your life. For all these reasons, we wanted to create a company that would offer everyday people, just like you and just like us, the opportunity to improve their quality of life, both physically and financially. And at the same time, through our charitable foundation, help others less fortunate realize their dreams as well. DuVita is an Italian word, and it means two lives. Improve your life and help someone else do the same. This business provides everyone, no matter what their background, life-changing opportunities. And at the end of the day, our hope and dream for this company and all of our members is that we all did what we could do to leave this world a little better than the way we found it. Life truly is different with DuVita. A better life and a better world away. And we sure hope you join us. Thank you.